With a sport like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, with so many different techniques, positions, submissions, it's tempting to want to get good at every single one of them. We think that a black belt is somebody who has mastered everything and knows everything that there is to know about Jiu-Jitsu. We think that in order to be a world champion, we need to be like a Swiss Army knife and have a tool and an answer for everything. This isn't necessarily true. A black belt is not somebody who has mastered 100 techniques. A black belt is somebody who has reached a high level of technical proficiency in a very small number of techniques. If you look at any world champion or high level competitor in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they all specialize in a very small minority of moves. Nearly a third of Gordon Ryan's competition victories are by the rear naked choke. Rafael Lovato, for an example, won 18% of his matches by Kimura, and Andre Galvao won 23% of his bouts by gi chokes from the back position. If all black belts were good at everything, they would have an equal amount of victories spanning across all submissions. There will always be an unequal distribution with anything that you choose to do in life, especially in Jiu-Jitsu. You should focus on being very good at a small minority of things and accept that you will most likely be mediocre at most other things. This simplifies Jiu-Jitsu and it gives you a better path to follow instead of being paralyzed by the indecision of what you should be working on next. This universal truth is known as Price's Law, and it applies to everything. A small minority of people attain most of the world's wealth. You are most likely going to wear the same 3 t-shirts more than most of the other ones. A small handful of employees at a company bring in the vast majority of the revenue and do most of the work. With Jiu-Jitsu, you should pick 2 to 3 submissions that work well for your body type and get really technical proficient at them. With takedowns, pick 2 or 3 that you feel come easy to you and practice them every day until you get good at them. In terms of back escapes, pick 2 or 3 and develop a high sensitivity to them. Spreading yourself too thin and trying to get good at everything is only going to make you average at best with everything. Would you rather have a 75% chance of getting your best submission on anyone or a 25% chance at pulling off anything? Think big, but focus small. Now, there is a flip side to this. Being really good in one area means you will inevitably be vulnerable in other areas. Use wrestlers for an example. They're dangerous in the top position, but once you sweep them and they end up on their back, they most likely don't have an answer. Guard players are always threatening with submissions off of their back and dangerous with sweeps, but if they're in the top position, they might have a harder time passing the guard. Whatever you do really well, assume that the opposite of that will most likely be lacking in proficiency. Now, there's a little hack to this that I realized. Getting good at something that has a similar variation can make you develop technical proficiency in 2 different submissions at once. Now, if you're wondering what any of that means, let me explain. Say you're really good at the anaconda choke. The inversion to that is the Darce choke. It's the same submission, just backwards. You've already developed a sensitivity for the anaconda. Now you just have to tweak the fine little details of it to be good at the Darce choke. There's a bunch of submissions that are similar like this. You can apply the same concept to the arm triangle and then the Walsh choke, or maybe the Kimura and the Americana. A wrist lock and a toe hold are very similar submissions, just on different body parts, or the knee bar and the arm bar. Now, obviously, you'll be better at one than the other, but you will pick up on the opposite technique quicker if you've built a solid foundation upon the other one. Now, put this into practice. Find what you like to do that works well for your individual body type. Explore a little bit of everything, become familiar with all of it, but only use a small minority of it. Know that you will most likely discard most of what you learn. You want to expose yourself to a little bit of everything, so you're aware of everything, but then only use what comes easy to you and works well for you, or what you personally like to do. But you need to be aware of everything else to know what your training partners and opponents in future competitions might be using against you.